Nice little intro there. Just press the button on this software I have, and boom, it happened. Okay, we'll roll with that. Guys, we have a good show for you today. I know you guys that do follow us and have seen some of the interviews we have in the past. We've had a city council candidates. Most recognizably, of course, Mr. Ruben Camarillo, who's running for place 3. Ms. Sandy Sassno, who's running for place 1 for Eagle Pass City Council. And today we're bringing you another candidate that is running for place 3, City Council place 3. And guys, we're really interested in sitting down. We were supposed to have this interview about a week ago. Some unfortunate circumstances did arise. We could not, but here we are. We're about to kick this off, and we're interested in hearing what the candidate has to say. So we won't waste any more time. Miss Ana Laura Herrera, we'll go ahead and bring her on.
Hello.
Hello. How you doing today?
Great.
Awesome. Well, we know the name, right? And a lot of us have seen, at least me that I do follow, some interesting things coming out of your campaign that we'll get to in a second. But anything that you would like to tell voters out there watching or that are going to watch this in the course of the next couple of weeks about yourself and why you chose to run, in 2023 for City Council of Eagle Pass?
Okay, well, first off, I'm a local. I was raised here in Eagle Pass, went to, school here, graduated from high school here. I left for a bit and then I returned back to town. I was a science teacher at Eagle Pass High School for 14 years. And, I recently left the district and I saw that there was a race going on for city council position 3. And I said to myself, you know what, why not go for it? I mean, people are always talking about Eagle Pass not being progressive, not being innovative, things always being the same. And, I figured, instead of just always, partaking in these conversations where we just, how could I say, discuss, what can be done differently in Eagle Pass, I said, you know what, why not? So I threw my hat into the race, and this is where we're at today.
Now, just to be clear, so everybody knows, you've never ran before, or you've never held any kind of elected office, right? This is your first go at it?
Yes. Okay. So, yes. First time, never have.
Awesome. So, going into this kind of, it's, I've noticed that it's a whole kind of different monster whenever you get into the political type of realm, right? There's different rules, different things come at you that maybe normally as a normal citizen that's not run, you wouldn't be, open to, I guess, or at liberty to experience. Is there anything in your campaign trail that's been, kind of eye-awakening as an outsider coming into, the political arena, right? Is there something that like, oh, wow, that I didn't know things were like that, or, I didn't see this coming?
I'll be honest, running for city council, it's been an eye-opener because normally people a certain way. Then once you throw your hat in the race, politics is a very sensitive topic, and people, it's just they set these different boundaries, which I mean ultimately you have to respect. I mean, they've set up these boundaries and everything. You can't hold that against them. I mean, you just can't. So, I mean, I can obsess over it, but why am I going to obsess over it if I already know the nature of the beast, especially in this community where running for office can sometimes, mean, oh, well, I might, experience, some, possible retaliation at work if I go this way and that way. So, because I mean, I've been part of the community for so long, when people did set certain boundaries, I didn't fret about it. It is what it is. And at the end of the day, I mean, if people are truly your friends at the end of the race, they're still going to continue to be your friends. And if not, oh well.
Hey, I mean, I don't know if I'm picking up on a vibe, but has there been some feathers ruffled in you coming out and running for this election, you personally?
Exactly
I mean,
like
you don't have to
what
be
do you mean?
specific, right? Like, but um, anything that you've experienced specifically, as the course of this race or anything, any kind of, backlashes or any kind of, we don't need specifics, right? I'm just trying to peer into the mind of, somebody that's running the first time, and what can people expect in that? I'm very curious because I've never run for a position myself. So,
Look, for people that know me, the community members that do know me and have either worked with me or they've been my students, they know that I really don't care. I mean, I'm just going to march to the beat of my own drum, and I could care less what anybody thinks at the end.
awesome, great answer.
Mhm.
Okay, so I know you've put out several campaign pieces out there, and I think one of the things that caught my eye, pro gender, equal rights and everything, is pro law. We saw pro back the blue campaigns coming out. So where top three things in your campaign? What are those top three things that the audience out there can, say this is what Ana is about?
Look, first and foremost, I am about, empowering other women, because if you do look at our community and if you look at a lot of the, how could you say, administrative positions in the community, even if you see some, a lot of the political seats, it's mostly dominated by men. Okay. And I think that considering that Eagle Pass, if we look at Eagle Pass, it has come a long ways. I think Eagle Pass slowly it's becoming progressive. And I know a lot of people don't see it, but whenever you do venture out to other communities and everything, you realize, oh wow, like, Eagle Pass is, somewhat progressive and everything. So I think that, especially a lot of the community members, they have wives, they have daughters, they have nieces and everything. And I mean, a lot of them are extremely educated. And I think that it's very important, especially in our community, in our predominantly Latino community. I think it's very important for our community to see educated females in certain positions. And in regards to law enforcement, the reason why I support law enforcement, it's because, especially look at where we live. We live here on the border. We know that there's this crisis of, a lot of immigrants coming in. There's an influx of it. And I know that a lot of the citizens, a lot of the residents are sometimes, concerned about their safety. So that's the reason why, I advocate for law enforcement. I also know that law enforcement, they're very similar to educators. I mean, we're all civil servants. So I know that sometimes, the community demands and expects so much of you, but you're limited with time, with resources, and so forth. And sometimes we're spread thin. And, I mean, I'm an educator, I'm a civil servant. So obviously it's going to be innate in me to always be, pro civil servants.
Awesome, awesome. So how? I mean, I know that many people have certain requirements before you can kind of announce you're going to be running for whatever seat it may be. Was this something that was kind of building up for a while, or was it a kind of let me just spur of the moment type of thing? Or was this a planned, well thought out, hey, I'm going to run for this position? And you get What I'm saying, was there a big thought into this, or it was kind of like, let's go attack and let's get this done?
A lot of people that know me, friends, family, ex-students, they know my attitude. And no, this wasn't something that was, planned in advance. It's not like I ever had any political ambition prior to this race, because I didn't. But just seeing the state that the current state that the community is in, seeing the people that are in leadership positions and everything, I figured, why not? And you know what? I'll even give you an interesting story on, how how could I say, how I decided to run for this race, and it's,
Okay.
I mean, you're not going to believe me. So anyways, as I mentioned earlier, these conversations, they happen in our communities, they happen in our circles, where we're always talking about how, the community can improve and how this can be done and yada 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 and so forth. So, it was the Sunday brunch, um what's it called? The Sunday brunch, Valentine brunch that they held at, what's the name of the bar downtown? Is it Fat Lizards?
Yes, there is one. Fat
The one
Lizards
that's
with
right across from Cooters,
scooters.
where Southbound
Okay.
used to be.
Yes.
Yes. Well, anyways, they had a show that day. Well, anyways, as I was getting ready to go to this brunch, and I'm there, putting on my mascara. You know what? I'm going to be honest. I said, F it. Why not? Others have done it with lesser qualifications. Why shouldn't I? And that's when I decided to do it. It wasn't planned. It wasn't, thought out or anything. Yes, it was that much on a whim. And as a matter of fact, with Danny, who is my significant other, he didn't even see this one coming. He was, away for 3 months on a detail. So I call him up and I'm just like, hey, you'll never guess what I did. And he's like, what? And I told him I'm running for political office. So even he was in shock. I mean, he found this out while he was, away on a detail.
Oh
So
wow,
don't think
wow.
this was something elaborate that had been planned. Trust me, I like to be, low key and under the radar. So actually putting myself out there for somebody like myself that, has a mind that's constantly going. Yes, it's, sometimes I'm like, oh, but I mean, F it, just go with it. Why not?
Awesome, awesome. So, how was that experience? Explain that experience. I know you had to apply with the a city secretary, and can you explain a little bit how that experience went for you? The swearing in that you have to do. Just something brief about that.
You know, Kind of like a fawn that's just been birthed. I mean, I went in there, I mean, pretty much, asking questions. I was very nervous. I was. I mean, it's not like, I went in there like, yes. It was like, okay, what do I do? Who do I, talk to? Because I'm not familiar with the process. It's a first.
Awesome, awesome. So, moving forward with your move into office, let's say, election goes good, everything comes out, you are the victor.
Mhm.
What are your priorities, or what is it that you see immediately in the city of Eagle Pass that day one will be trying to advocate, trying to change, trying to, implement? Is there something that, all of us need to know, that this is your baby that you want to drive down there to the city of Eagle Pass and get done? See some, an accomplishment maybe?
Look, because of my educator background, first and foremost, I would have to go in. I would have to assess what I'm dealing with first and foremost. And then based upon that, I love to do research. Okay, if there's something that I love to do, I love to read and I love to research. So after going into office and assessing what it is that I'm up against and everything, then that would be my next move. I'm a firm believer in researching and being well versed in whatever topics need to be handled. And I mean, how I've mentioned throughout my campaign, yes, I advocate for, for civil servants. Yes, I think that the community needs more infrastructure and everything, but not currently holding office. I don't know exactly, what I'm up against. So I would definitely have to assess the situation, do my research, and then from there, as an educator, as a mom, prioritize like what is it that, we need to tackle first? What's the one thing that community members are concerned about? And you know what? I was also thinking about this too. And I think this is another way for Eagle Pass to move in a more progressive way. I think that there's a lack of community involvement. And if there's something that we've always heard in these conversations that we have amongst friends and family, it always feels like the community is always catering to a certain population. It always seems like they're just targeting certain things. And I think that that's why a lot of people in the community, develop a negative attitude. And that's why they're pessimistic, because they don't feel that their voice and their concerns are being heard. So I think it's very important that Eagle Pass moves with the progressive times, and maybe we create some type of a think tank concept where community members from all different backgrounds can, voice what it is that they, are concerned about, or what they would like to see. And of course, we're not, fairies, and we just can't, wave a wand and give everybody everything. So, but at least you have a starting point. And I think that at least if you start to, listen to the different individuals that are out there and their different concerns, and you slowly start to, address what it is that they voice, I think that that's when the community feels like, okay, I'm being heard. Okay, the community is just not concerned about serving a particular population. So that's where I'm at with that. And I mean, we've all heard these conversations where a lot of our community members feel like they're neglected, like they're put on the back burner, like if they don't run with a certain group, like what's the point? And I mean, I think everybody can agree with, what it is that I'm saying in regards to the way that the community feels.
All right. So, I guess I'm kind of gathering there's, a certain controlling type of group that gets catered to, and not necessarily the majority of the population here in Eagle Pass is a part of that group. Obviously, that's how the nature of the groups work, right? Okay, not everybody would be in, because then it wouldn't be a group. But so, and I know that's kind of like a topic that does happen, not only here in a local level, state level, but a national level as well. Here at the local level, what are some ways that, maybe you've thought of before, or maybe you can think of something right off the bat of how we can combat that? I know you mentioned having a think tank. Is there something beyond that, a way we can kind of bridge that gap and have more? I'm sorry, go ahead.
No. A lot of people in the community are frustrated. They really, really are. And a lot of community members, a lot of individuals, they're scared to go against the grain. They're scared to voice because they fear retaliation from a lot of the local institutions. And, that's why I threw my hat in the race, because a majority of the time, it's the same people being recycled in local government. And I believe that that's the reason why the community is stagnant. And I'm going to use that word stagnant, because it's just the same people being recycled, the same ideas. And they're not innovative. They're not progressive. They're not doing research. It's, it seems like they have blinders and they're just focused on a particular agenda, which majority of the time, or not majority of the time, a good percentage of the time, seems to be self-serving.
Yeah, I mean, wow. I think you did hit the nail on the head with that one. I
Mhm.
mean, just real quick, we got that project with the 3.5 million going to the incubator, which is I like the idea, but the way the COVID funding, I mean, because that was through COVID funding that we got that. I've always felt that that could have been used, for something in the immediate. The businesses were being lost, rather than right now. We're out of COVID about a year or two now, and then they're just barely breaking ground on it. So, so many businesses were lost along that way where something could have been done in the immediate. And I totally get that because they're building that in Main Street, where, I used to work with the city many years ago. 10 years ago, we were trying to bring up the Main Street. I mean, it's main streets on border cities throughout Texas have the same exact problem. You go to Laredo, I mean, their downtown's much bigger than ours, but it's the same kind of shops you see out there. They're already niched out to the point where it's hard to revive a downtown when it's already a certain way. Um, Sorry, my little 2 cents on that one, right? But
Mhm.
uh, is there anything that maybe you've seen right now that's going on with the city that you may disagree with, or in turn that you really like what they're doing? Either or. Any policy that they put in place, anything that direction that they're moving, good or bad. I'd love to hear that.
Look, once again, and it's going to be the reoccurring theme here, with the podcast and with my campaign. Okay, the one issue that sticks out, and everybody in the community would agree with me, it's how I mentioned earlier. It's the same local government just being recycled over and over again. So, how can the community progress? How can it become innovative? How can we flood it with new ideas if it's the same people being recycled over and over again? So, if we don't change the people that are in local government, you know what? Then everything else, you could just pretty much wipe it off the table, because you know what? It's the same ideas, it's the same people that have been there literally for decades. Okay. And that's the reason why things do not progress. And, Eagle Pass, I think, has a potential to be more innovative. And I think Eagle Pass has the capacity to be in the forefront of trying to, progress and be innovative. Now, in regards to the community and the community members, I give kudos to the community. And this is something that I love about the community members. I, grew up here, then I came back, and I've seen how people's train of thought has evolved. And that's what I love seeing, that people have become progressive, people have evolved, people have, started to, see the bigger picture. So, no, the problem and the issue does not lie with our community members, it lies with the local government.
Awesome. Wow. Uh, so moving forward, I like to put people already on the hot
I
seat.
know.
You getting elected, right? So the people you have now there, I don't know if you've gone into kind of research, looked into their backgrounds, or if you know anybody there. The existing council, if you would win, of course, there's another seat out there, but you will have three that are already there. Are those the type of people that you will be able to work with? Differences, not differences. Is there any issue there moving forward?
No, I generally work well with others. I am receptive to new ideas, and I like to listen first before I jump into any conclusions or make any decisions. And I mean, I have to go in there and understand their train of thought and what it is that they're thinking before I can move on what I feel the community needs growth in. So it's all a matter, and again, it goes back with my educator background. It's all about going into the situation and assessing it and seeing what it is that you're up against, and of course, not only what you're up against, but the issues that are critical to the community. And let's call it for what it is: funding.
Mhm. Yeah. Funding is a big part of any public entities able to acquire resources and distribute amongst employees, students, depending on that public entity, right? Um, one thing that I have been listening to you discuss is the sense of people being under a cloud of fear to come out and run for an office. And I think you mentioned retaliation or, whatever reason it may be. Is there anything like that you've experienced in coming out right now? Again, no names or anything, just something in general. If you do have something to share that you'd like to share.
Isaac, if there's one thing about me, and that's why I say I would advocate for my community and its citizens, because I will say what needs to be said. And yes, I do speak for a good majority of the community. Yes, they fear retaliation, they fear their jobs being jeopardized. And we all have seen how this community has reinforced that. So for local government to act like they're oblivious and to say that it does not exist and to say that that's not the case, then they are living under a rock, because the truth of the matter is they do live in fear of retaliation, and nobody should be fearing for their job just because they have an idea or an opinion.
I'm glad you brought that up, and let's scratch a little surface on some critical thinking here.
Okay.
How do we solve a problem like that? And I know that's a big issue, but what are some quick things, or what do you feel that if we as a community, I mean, I'm talking about as a community, can move in the way to change that perception? Because I do feel a large amount of it is a perception of it. And of course, I'm not going to say that you're not going to go without consequences from going against the grain, because you most definitely will. But I think it's more of a perceived type of thing than, yes, you will get retaliated, or you will, or if you have a different experience or thoughts on that, I'd love to hear.
No, I think there's a lot of local institutions here that have witnessed, people being retaliated against and humiliated in public. So I think that the first step is, what? Like with anything, you need somebody that's going to be brazen and is going to speak for their community members. And I think that's the first step with anything, is somebody voicing this. And normally when somebody voices and, they see that they were able, to do it, other people eventually join the bandwagon. Okay, you will slowly, and I mean, it's going to be a slow process, because I mean, think about it. This local government, it's generational. It's pretty much become an inheritance. Okay, and local office should not be an inheritance. Okay, and it should not be an inheritance that you manipulate for your own personal gains. So, I think even with me doing this podcast and just articulating and voicing this, I think, yeah, I would really be interested to know if anybody would argue against what I've just said. Now, nobody's
Yeah,
going to work with the community. Nobody's going to disagree, but at the same time, nobody's going to agree. So that's why I think, this is, where I come in. You know what? I mean, I'm not associated or affiliated with any of the local institutions, right? So at this point, I can say and voice what I want and not have to fear retaliation or my job being jeopardized.
it's a powerful thing, isn't it?
Yes, I know. It was the best thing they could have done, is given me my freedom.
Awesome. Yeah. We got a comment out here that says, no more red carpet treatment for Councilman Diaz. I don't know if you can see it on your end, but
Yes.
yeah, I don't know if you want to comment on anything about that. Somebody put it out there.
Well, I mean, it's a very general statement. I wouldn't need to know specifically what do they mean by the red carpet treatment, because once again, I am no longer associated or affiliated with any institution here, so I don't know what exactly they mean by red carpet treatment. But if they were to specify, I mean,
Okay.
yeah.
War Daddy's Shadow, go ahead and specify. She's willing to answer. I was neglecting any chats here, comments, so I'm just barely going by it. That way, if there's anybody that's interested in, asking something, I'm sure you're open to getting a reply out of it or replying for them. But anyways, moving forward. I love that word today. Moving forward. So, how have you gone about this campaign? Again, you mentioned that you're, first timer here.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the steps that you've been doing? How is the campaign going? Tell us a little bit of what your, I guess you don't want to tell us your strategies or your secrets, right? But what is it that you're out there doing and participating in? Where can we see you at, or do you have any events coming up where we can, meet and greet, anything like that for the people to be aware of?
The meeting and greeting would probably have to take place, after I win, because, right now, people, are still wary of me. But I mean, it is what it is. But how could I say? Look, I'm not going to say that I have a specific strategy. I just think that the community needs truth telling. And I think that that's where, local government has failed, is the lack of truth telling. And this is where I come in. So do I have a strategy? No. Am I a truth teller? Yes. And would I call out something that I don't think serves the community? Yes, I will. Because I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, I am no longer associated with any local institution. I am not, I'm not a business owner. I don't have property. So I gain nothing financially.
Yeah, that's a very powerful thing when you got that in your back pocket. I've come to learn myself. Now let's get to the little bit nitty gritty, the questions I really want to ask. Now that we're got the little walls nice and lowered and everything. So, like I said, I monitor the campaigns, the pages, looking at things, seeing what things do, what candidates are doing out there. And we came across some interesting posts that you came out with, mainly specifying certain things that one of your opponents was doing. And we're talking about candidate Mario Diaz. And I'm not sure if you want to elaborate on those two items. I think I saw two separate pieces out there. But would you like to elaborate a little bit about that? I know some people saw it. Maybe some people don't understand or don't, I know how it could be overwhelming with some of the, citing of this, that, the other per policies. Would you like to elaborate that
Isaac,
a little bit?
it's simple. There's certain rules that you need to adhere to. Okay, so I mean, politicking on company time, we all know I mean, that one was just, flat out unethical. And you know what? It's not right that an institution demands for their employees to adhere to policy, but yet certain individuals do not have to adhere to them just because there's a possibility that they might become part of local government and it may benefit the institution. And I feel that a lot of the employees of this institution, yeah, they're not going to agree with that practice. I mean, what makes an individual special? Why is it that everybody else, whenever they need to do something, they need to take a half day off, they need to take the day off, but not this individual? And that's the type of stuff that I believe in calling out, because I think that this is where the reason why the community is in the situation that it's in. It's because you let these little things slip, and eventually it's a snowball effect. And hence, this is where we're at today, where we've had generations of local government just being recycled. And
Yeah.
I'm sorry, in regards to the other post, seriously, an educator should not be, how could I say, using a violent movie as their theme. And when you have an individual that obviously cannot discern and has no regards for their public and the institution that they serve, then that's what you are to expect once this individual is in office, that they don't think the rules apply to them, and that, they have no regard for its community members. And I think that was displayed quite blatantly. And if anybody argues with that, then you know what? We have some serious issues. And it's appalling that this individual is being backed by an institution that, how I said in my post, is the antithesis of this man's theme. And it's actually an outrage.
Now, let me dig a little bit deeper on that one right there, right? So there was were there formal complaints on your behalf submitted to the school board, the superintendent?
Oh, well,
or it was just
my post was
an
clear as
email?
day. I sent an email to the HR director, the superintendent, and the board members. How much formal than that? I mean, school board is also elected officials, and obviously they were dismissive of my complaint. So that should say a lot.
Well, my next question was: have you received any response whatsoever?
Is the Pope Catholic, Isaac?
So how long has it been then since these emails went out till right now without no response or any kind of explanation or no acknowledgement whatsoever for those complaints?
Well, no. This is an institution that believes that they don't have to explain anything to its community members. And that's exactly what I wanted, because they just reinforced what the community thinks and feels. So,
well, I mean, there has been several, and I will confirm with the statement you just said that the Eagle Pass ISD does never reveal anything until somebody has information, lets it out, then they come up with a nice little press conference after the fact. That's just a pattern that I've seen them doing. But so what is the problem? I mean, you used to work for the EPISD, and I'm hoping I'm not maybe overstepping my boundaries with this question, but what is the problem then with the Eagle Pass ISD? I mean, obviously they're not addressing your concerns, and to me, I'll be honest with you. I read what you submitted. I have not compared it to what's their policy, and usually, that's the first thing you do. But my major concern is that there hasn't even been an acknowledgement, because that's the first. I mean,
but Isaac, it's because it's a reoccurring theme. It's the generational recycled local government. I mean, you know what? I'm even going to use this word when it comes to our local government. Okay, as far as the way that it's constantly like being recycled and everything, It's almost like political inbreeding. It's even kind of like political incest. And I said it, and it is what it is. And if we look at all of our local government, at all of our local boards, yes, it proves what I just said. It is political incest. It is political inbreeding.
Yeah. Relatives that don't disclose that they're relatives. You get a lot of that. Unless you know these
Or just like you
families,
have
then
the
you know, like,
same
oh,
people that hold office serving on all the boards. Yes. So yeah,
yeah.
I would
Okay.
say.
Okay. I would love for you to explain for the people out there watching it, and kudos, because I think you have the biggest crowd that we've had from any candidate that we've interviewed. So kudos for you. That thank you. But so then you have that situation.
Mm-hmm.
What do we do about it? I mean, because everything is, and I agree with you to an extent, of course. Yeah, I mean, I see that they're, it's the same people. They won't say that they're cousins, but they're cousins. We all know they're cousins. Should be an ethical violation, isn't it? Is not one, right? According to legal counsels. But so what? How do we combat that then? Because I mean, I hear the issues. I hear the issues, and these are issues that, again, how you say they're reoccurring, and they're not gonna just go away, right? They're not. How can we help that, or how would Ana Laura Herrera help that if she's elected to office? Is that something that you're hoping to set a precedent for? You're hoping to ignite a fire in many more? I mean, what is it? Now
Look,
that's a pretty big, a couple of
it's
questions
as
in one
simple,
way,
and
but
it's not complicated, and I'm just going to say it as it is here, like what we've seen here at the local level. Nobody ever gets called out for anything, hence why we're in the situation that we're in, hence why everything keeps just recycling itself. Okay, so I think the first step is to call this out, and let's call it for what it is too. A lot of the people that hold local government and everything, they can't handle being called out. It is what it is, but it's the truth. They can't.
I thought this comment was funny. I might get a kick out of it. Damn, she's coming for the root of the money tree.
I know. I also see that my neighbor Ana Gonzalez is watching the podcast. Hi, Ana.
Yeah, she posted something.
I know.
Very
I know.
nice
Lovely
there.
lady.
Okay, so I mean, we see obviously we agree with a lot of things that we see out there that are wrong, and I like that. I like seeing like-minded people, because I think there's a few of us, but the numbers are growing, and it's hard here in Eagle Pass because a lot of people are interrelated and interwoven, and I think that's where kind of I was alluding to, is that how do you dilute that, because
Look, I think this, okay? I think, um, look, I was brazen enough. I built up the courage to say, you know what? Let me do it. Instead of always just, being in my circles, discussing about the issues that, we see in the community, why not do something? And you know what? Maybe me doing this will inspire others. Ultimately, that's the whole goal of government. It's to inspire. It's not to keep the people oppressed and fearing for their jobs, which that's the way the local government has learned to control and manipulate the entire community. It's through fear.
yeah, I couldn't have said that better myself. Absolutely. Okay, so a little more background on Ana Laura. Values. I'm interested in knowing where you sit on. I mean, I know this is not necessarily and I don't want to make it a red or blue or Republican Democrat. That's not here or there. But there are certain values that have come into play. Especially, I think you mentioned about the a border crisis. So I'm assuming you're acknowledging that yes, this is a crisis, because there is certain people that will not acknowledge that whatsoever. But now that's not over yet. Is that a concern for you as a city councilwoman? Um,
Yes, the safety of our citizens is crucial. So, yes, that I mean, I wouldn't want the community members to feel that they're not living in a safe environment or that they cannot count on their local law enforcement to intervene when need be. So, no, yes, I mean, it's like with anything. The first thing you're concerned about is everybody's safety.
One of your candidates mentioned that one of your opponents, I'm sorry, I keep on saying candidates, mentioned something that the severe lack of police officers out there. Is that something that you're ready to take on? Do you feel the same way? Do you feel that maybe they need to be working more, or what's your take on our law enforcement currently at this stage?
It's like with any civil servant. There's so much work. There's not enough employees. There's not enough funding. There's not enough trainings. And I mean, as an educator, I know it's not the same as law enforcement, but the concept is and the principle, it's the same. They demand so much, but yet there's not enough employees or there's not enough training and there's not enough funding. So I could see how law enforcement institutions can also get frustrated at times because of the demands that the community has for expects of them, or that the local government expects of them, and they're probably thinking like, there's only so much we can do with the employees that we have, with the funding that we have, and so forth. So yes, I can understand, them being stressed, them having breakdowns, them being, overworked, underappreciated. And I mean, that's normally the case with civil servants. We normally feel like we're not appreciated and we never do enough. And I mean, everybody is so quick to, blame the civil servants when really you should be looking at the local government, because I mean, they invest pennies, but yet they want you to do Navy SEAL quality work. I mean, seriously. And I mean, it's also the same thing with how I said in the medical field and with educators. I mean, they expect these, miracles with, with institutions being understaffed, underfunded, them not receiving the trainings that they need, the professional development. So yes, I think civil servants were all there in on the same boat, preaching to the choir.
Um, One of the big topics that came about, in the past year and a half, and a lot of the people from the public did react on this. Um, the thought that, or the perception of the city of Eagle Pass being riddled with nepotism.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think the biggest fear for a lot of citizens out there, or maybe not the biggest fear, but something that's always on their mind, is that you can't get a job anywhere unless you know anybody
Mm-hmm.
or related to somebody. Now, it's unfortunate, but I'm going to be honest. We had candidates that came in this last election, acknowledged the nepotism, said that they were going to do something about it, and have yet to date moved anything on it. Now, moving forward with you, is that going to be the same way? Because, and I'll say there were rather disappointing moving forward, and I think a lot of the sense that I've gotten from, and I don't mean it as a disrespect from them. I'm not, saying it in a negative light, but what was told to us wasn't actually, it's not getting delivered, right? So can we expect everything you're saying here to us, the picture you're painting, Is that the picture you're going to give us? 1 year into office, 2 years into office as a city councilwoman for the city of Eagle Pass?
Look, everything that, I've said so far, it's what I've been, saying for years and everything. And it's how you mentioned previously too. I am going to have to work with three other individuals. And I know that sometimes with certain boards, that's one of the issues that they voice. They're like, "Yes, we feel a certain way. Yes, we want to do this, we want to do that." But it's how they say that how they say sometimes our hands are tied because we're only one up against all of these other ones. So how can one person override, the rest? But I mean, it goes back to what I was saying, maybe you need to start calling, people out.
And is that something that you'd be willing to do? Because and I'll give an example and I'll set a context to it. A lot of viewers have commented on how impressive a certain female candidate was 2 years ago when she got elected, and people have even said she might have been the savior for the city of Eagle Pass. And at one point, it was going through. Now, the comments that I received are not the same comments that I received in the beginning. And uh, uh, I guess what I'm trying to say, if you're that one to the four, are you going to stick to being that one voice regardless of what other members are doing?
I
Because I do know that the people that are in charge, the main one, there's always a main one, there's always a county judge, a mayor there. They like to look united. And I understand that it's good for that. But at the cost of your values, where would you do, where would you stand in a situation like that?
look, I'm just advocating for my community members. If I get elected into office, I think that's what they want. They want to see that I am advocating. And I know that sometimes because it's the nature of the beast, sometimes, you want to do good, but because, you have to work with other individuals that might not follow your agenda. Sometimes, whatever it is that you wanted to accomplish might not get accomplished. But I think if people see that at least you voiced it, I think that's the main frustration with the community is that nobody advocates and nobody calls it out. And I think that's what people want to see, and that's something, I mean, growing up in this community, then coming back to this community, I've never seen anybody just say it as it is. It is what it is. But yet, the people that, get away with some of their heinous acts and everything, they do it, but yet they expect you to watch them do it and not say anything about it. And I think that's why the community gets upset because it's like they're doing it, but yet they want you to swallow it. And that's the case with a lot of the institutions, in here locally, is they do what they do and they expect you to swallow it but not say anything about it. And once again, that is a frustration. It's, for example, and I've said this over and over again with my educator background, it's like whenever you get an irate parent at a school. Normally they're upset because they feel that they're not being heard or that their needs are not being addressed. And that is what we see in the community. Pretty much everybody gets dismissed. Hence, I mean, and that's the reason, why I did what I did. And I proved it. For example, voicing, the issues with the other candidate. And obviously, the institution doesn't feel obligated to answer to the community, and the board doesn't feel the need to answer to its constituents.
No, I mean, me at the very least, I mean, I could see how it's frustrating because they should be give you an explanation. They're a public entity. They're entitled to give you this information, or you are entitled to this
Yes.
information, especially in whatever recourse was taken, whether they called him in, they addressed it, and something needs to be delivered to you explaining what happened. And I mean, that bothers me, right? So moving forward, they haven't done nothing. They haven't addressed it. They haven't responded. Have you continued to see these types of things and are not reporting them anymore,
Oh no,
or
Isaac.
you have,
I'm no longer
or if you see
associated.
it,
I'm
you're
not. I'm
going,
not associated with any institution here. So trust me, I wouldn't have a problem calling it out or addressing it. But I mean, at the end of the day, I know that they just think they're above it all, and they're just going to sweep it under the rug.
yeah.
But I mean,
And I think
as
that,
far as me being a concerned parent, I mean, I did voice it, and
so
obviously,
will, I mean,
and obviously, I have. I'm going to this coming next school year. I'm going to have 3 kids in the district, and obviously, my taxpayer money doesn't mean anything.
yeah. I mean, I wouldn't feel too bad. There's some stuff that they haven't responded to me either that I've been asking for. So I'm in the same boat there,
But
right?
Isaac, that's the thing
But
with this institution. Because I worked with them for so long, I have no expectations of them because, oh well, it is what it is. I mean, I did it just to prove a point, and they reinforced it.
well, see, and working in that entity, I don't know if you'll feel comfortable, but there's issues there. Where are the issues? Does it lie in the board? Does it lie in the administration? Does it lie the level under the mid-level administration? I mean, I don't know if you'll be calling people out and don't want to. I mean, I'm just curious because and I agree with you. Something needs to change out there. That's been my opinion about the school district. But nobody lines up to run against these people, and the last ones that did was the other old political regime that just got dethroned, right? So that's the last time they got challenged. So they're sitting pretty. They know they're not getting challenged. Is it the board, or is it everybody? Is it a type of thing where it's so structured already that it's solid enough to where, are we beating a dead horse here?
Well, Isaac, it's as simple. I mean, anybody that has taken, graduate courses in education and everything, and lived in the Houston area for, a couple of years and everything. And everybody knows that superintendents have a high turnover rate. Normally, the average span a superintendent has in a district can range anywhere from 2 to 3 years. And it's how a professor of mine once said, if a superintendent is in office for more than 3 years, yeah, the superintendent and the board are in on it together. And it's that simple. And these
Wow.
are coming from, ex superintendents. This is coming from people that have PhDs. This isn't me just, saying this. And I mean, of course, you can look this up. The statistical research does say this. Superintendents normally last no more than 2, 3 years because normally there's a conflict between the board and the superintendent, and they normally get released. Now, if a superintendent is in office for more than 2 to 3 years, well, I guess the rest is just implied.
No, yeah, and I think it's similar patterns with any type of board manager situation because the city here with Eagle Pass, I mean, it's a revolving door as well. Um, which reminds me, I wasn't gonna bring it up or I didn't think about it, but if I don't know if you followed the history that's happened with them for about a year ago. It took them a very long time to get rid of a city manager that used the city credit card to buy World Series, I mean, MLB playoff tickets. Now, I mean, it took a while. It was 6 months after the fact that he eventually got let go after more trouble he got the city into, right? Where's your leash on that? Like, if you're a city councilwoman, these kind of things are happening. Do you look, I mean, because to me honestly they just kind of turned the other way on it, didn't respond. Of course, that's the thing we see here with the public entities. They don't want to respond when the kitchen is hot or burning, for whatever reason. But accountability, I guess, is what I'm trying to ask is, is Ana Laura Herrera going to be accountable or hold people accountable in the city?
Well, like with anything, an issue arises and everything, and you need to hear the side of every party that's involved. Once you hear the side of every party that's involved and you collect all of the necessary information that you need, then from there you make an informed decision. And I think it should be that clear. I think you should, collect all of your information, make sure that, you dot the I's, cross the T's, assess the situation, hear every angle of the story, and then make an informed decision. So before making any decision, it has to be an informed one. You do have to do your research. You do have to have all the facts in check before you make any decision. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm all about, fact checking. I'm all about doing the research. Yes.
Yeah, that's good answer. Good answer. Well, a couple of more questions. We did hit the hour mark. I like to keep it between an hour because if not, I'd keep on going and going. But so we're nearing the early voting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, how is it looking as far as support that you're able to be gathering? Because it seems like you're up against a candidate that has some backing. So how is your corner looking? Is there anything, any kind of I guess worry on your end? Are you confident going into this? Do you feel that you will be the candidate elected? I know that you guys have a four people race, right?
Mm-hmm.
So more than likely, it will be going into a runoff. I mean, that's what I'm looking at. I don't think anybody's going to win 51%. So, how confident are you to being one of those top two candidates that's going to go into a runoff? Can we bet that Ana Laura Herrera is going to be one of those two?
Look, Isaac, as I've learned with life, I literally take everything one day at a time. I, I take it one day at a time. And at the end of the day, we need to see the voter turnout and we need to see what happens. I'm not going to be, oh, this, that, or the other, because, I've learned in life, you have a plan and God laughs at it, right? I mean, he has another plan, in store for you. So at this point, Isaac, take it day by day and we'll see where it leads. And I mean, you know what? Finally, we'll get to see if, people really want change and if they want to break this incestuous political cycle that's been going on for generations. And at the end of the day, this is my thing, win or lose. I mean, it's just, like I always like to say, then in a year or two, don't force me to say, I told you so. So you know what? The people have options. Okay. And if they want to continue with, that same, I mean, I don't even have words because my face just says it. So, at the end of the day, somebody, starts to complain. I'll just be like, well, you know what? You had options, so don't complain. And it's that simple. And I mean, at the end of the day, win or lose, Isaac, I've already won because I've already voiced a lot of the things that a lot of the people think and feel, and I've already voiced it for them. So it's a win-win.
Awesome. All right. Well, look, I have just a couple of more questions that I know everybody is dying to know, and then we'll call it quits from there.
Okay.
All right. What is your favorite food?
Isaac, I have an inner fat girl in me. I don't discriminate. And I've always said this, I can go anywhere in the world and I'm not going to starve. I love food. I'm having a meal and I'm thinking about my next one. But I mean, if you're asking me like, what's my, I can't even tell you what my go-to is. I'm always,
What do you eat often? We'll
right now, because you know what? I have 3 little ones and it's practical. Yes, a lot of pizza. And I don't discriminate. I love it all. I love Peter Piper, but the only thing that I hate about Peter Piper is that I feel like I have to eat it there because once you bring it home and it's cooled off a little bit, it's not the same. Pizza Hut, different story. I can eat that, hot, cold, or 2 days later, right? So yeah, tacos, don't even get me started there. Steak, love it. Carbs, love it. Can I eat an entire cake by myself? Of course I can. Potato chips, love them.
Whoa. So, favorite drink? Coffee,
Oh,
alcoholic, and
I'm coffee. If I don't have my black coffee, yeah, it's and I drink it black, no cream, no sugar.
so do I.
I'm hardcore like
Hobbies. Yeah, I drink it straight. Hobbies.
that. Hobbies? Mm, I don't know. I guess continuing my
I,
education.
I, I stumped you. I was waiting. I was waiting for this moment. I got one.
Yeah,
That's considered a stump.
you got me, Isaac.
Okay, one place in the entire world you can visit. You don't have to worry about paying anything. Where would it be?
You mean just a place that I don't get tired of ever going to?
Or anywhere around in the world? Somewhere you have been, somewhere you haven't.
Look, I love New Orleans. And it's not even for, the partying or anything. I love the culture. I love how when you're walking through the French Quarter, you can literally cut the history with a butter knife. I love visiting the Garden District. I love the food. Of course, I'm, a foodie, but I don't believe in being in New Orleans for no more than, 3 or 4 days, because when I've been there, I've literally have gained like 7 to 10 pounds. Like, no lie. Yes, I know it's bad, and I mean, I already have my go-to restaurants there and everything.
All right. Well, you know what? I appreciate you being a fair sport about the weird little questions at the end. Some people like to hear those things, so we had to break the ice like that. But one last question I do have: would you object to a second podcast, a follow up, maybe about in a week and a half, something like that, just so we can catch up with you on the campaign trail?
No, of course not, Isaac. I'd look forward to it, and I have to thank you for, carrying this out wonderfully, and you have been indeed a gentleman.
Awesome. I hope you didn't expect anything less, but you have the audience, and like I said, you had a pretty good audience, more than I've had from the other candidates. So I thank you for
Oh,
that.
wait. And
Any last words you
I
want?
just have to do this one because I'm seeing it here on the chat. I need to say, hi to my ex-student, Manny.
Manny. Let's see. Yeah, I think I had posted that earlier out there.
Yes, he's my ex-student. Yes.
Awesome. All right. Any last words to everybody watching before we say goodbye?
Well, come early voting, come May 6th, just go out and vote.
Awesome. Well, we were talking with Miss Ana Laura Herrera. We really appreciate it, and we look forward to our next interview.
I do too, Isaac. You have a wonderful evening.
You too. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Guys, so there was another candidate that we interviewed for you, Ana Laura Herrera. She is running for city council here in the city of Eagle Pass for place 3. Eagle Pass City Council, place 3. Ana Laura Herrera, we thank her for joining us, and be patient with us because we did have to reschedule. We just have one of the other candidates dipping in, Mr. Camarillo. Let's cut out the third option and give our community a debate. Oh, wow. I wish I would have caught that one right before she left, so we could have asked her that. But, guys, there's been several debate challenges that have been issued by Mr. Camarillo. Maybe we can facilitate something like that with Ms. Herrera. We just let her go, and we appreciate her time as well. We did have a great podcast, guys. I appreciate you guys tuning in. to this podcast, the Ruiz Beast Podcast. New name, different things, same old shit. You know how it is. But guys, thank you for showing up. We will see you on our next podcast. We're getting a regular date for you guys, but be sure you turn on that little bell. That way, every time we come up live, you'll get a notification. And if you got some free time, pop in, say hi, ask a question. You know how we do. We're interactive in the chat. We like to keep in touch with you guys. I think that's what sets us apart from any other podcast out there, is that we're here, we're live, we're getting it going, we're replying on the chat. We got Mr. Fortis out here, always peeping in on us. Appreciate that. Good review. Really hope it's the first. Nice. Guys, thank you very much. That's it for tonight. Catch us for the third episode of the Ruiz Beast